The Book of Psalms, verse 1. In the Lord I take refuge. How then can you say to me, flee like a bird to your mountain? Okay, so, hi there everybody, this is Christian RPG Gamers. So I think for today's video I wanted to talk about Magic the Gathering, the Arena. And I'll try to put some kind of like a Christian spin on this too. But I mean, it is what it is. I don't want to force the message always either. But I guess mostly I just want to talk about some of my experience with Arena. Now that I've been playing it for about, I think, well over a month at this point. Okay, so maybe this will be like a little bit of a review about it, or just some thoughts. I guess this is actually just some footage from Arena. So sometimes I actually use the footage from the actual game itself. But, okay. So some things, I guess I'm not sure exactly where I want to start, but, okay, so I guess, like, for the deal of, like, new players to it, I personally think, this game is very fair to new players. It offers a high levels of, it has a high level of tutorials. The game gives you access to, like, I think like 15 different starter decks, and there's a whole bunch of stuff you can play, you know, initially early on. Then you can also unlock access to all the stuff in the game, and then they'll give you a whole bunch of well, so at some point through all this, it gives you like access to like 20 starter decks, and then it also gives you like 20 to 30 booster packs, along with along with a handful of some Pacific set like mythics, or just some strong cards. And then every single new set that comes out, I think they also give you 3 booster packs. So, and then it has some access to some. It gives you like some of these little jumpstart tokens. And the jumpstart tokens let you have access to build some. You can get some early game. You can get some early game. You get some early game. Like, you can take 2 half decks of these like preset cards, and you can build decks with them. You get to keep those cards when the events come up. There's also stuff like drafts, which is like you have 3 booster packs, and you pick cards from the drafts. You win some prizes, and they have some like free events that come up. So you also get these daily coins. So you can earn the coins, you can join certain events with them, or you can buy stuff with them. So initially, and then also you can unlock cards with the wild cards. So this game, in my opinion, is pretty fair to people who don't really spend a lot of money on it, at least initially, because you have so much cards. It's not that big of a deal. Now, this game does not. It does have like power level creeps, and there are obviously certain decks that are just really good. It also offers a lot of different formats. It can be difficult to obtain mythic rares, which are generally the best cards in the game. There is a nice pool of rares you can get, but rares and mythics are not easy to obtain necessarily. I mean, you can find them. They're just not infinitely plentiful. But there is a plentiful amount, especially to start with. Now, you can get access to plenty of commons and uncommons. And with the wild cards, you can pick whatever card you want. So, I guess this is one thing I would say about this game, right? Like, it has different power levels or thresholds. It's very new player friendly, and it has a tremendous amount of intermediate capabilities. But if you want to go further into the game, it can be a little bit difficult to build like a really good deck later on in the game. So, again, if you're smart with your resources and you save them wisely, and you invest in certain decks. Again, I would say that you should probably focus on maybe like 2 to 3, probably 2 to 3 just solid, high quality, strong decks. Also, you can invest like your mythic rares, and then you can also it offers so many different formats. Like there's like historic, there's standard. Like historic is more like the well-rounded eternal format. Oh, it's not every card; it's a lot of cards, and it has commander. It has some standard brawl. It has some like alchemy or what do we call it? It has a whole bunch of formats. It also has it has draft and has sealed, and has cube and a bunch. It has a whole bunch. It has event decks you can play. So I would say that the game, yeah. So again, like you probably want to build like 2 to 3 decks. Then with all the cards that you have available, you should be able to build strong enough decks to at least stand a chance. Especially if you're playing the lower elo. You should be able to build a couple solid decks, and then you can always pick up specific cards that you think are really good. I would say you got to be careful with your mythics and your rares. It's not that big of a deal with the the commons aren't a big deal, and you should especially early on look for cards that are just solid all around for like the specific like. You should just be wise with spending your mythic and your rare wild cards. You use them on stuff you actually need, or they're just good all around. So, because you also can pick any card in the game with them. So, okay. So with that said, yeah. Again, it is new player friendly, but it's a little bit. It's not particularly that friendly to the more advanced players, but it is mostly fair. Yeah, again, as I was saying, you build about 2 to 3 decks, and as you slowly start getting, if you join the drafts or you start opening more packs, you can slowly, again, probably I'd recommend building some historical decks. You can get like a couple. You can get like just try to build a couple different decks. Maybe, yeah, so that way you can play for the long term, and you can also start building your collection. And again, you'll get so much free stuff. It's not that big of a deal. And then commons and uncommons, by the way, they're just in abundance. You should never feel like you're overly worried about it, unless you're building a very specific deck that you have to use a whole bunch of wild cards for. You never have any real problem obtaining. There's so many commons and uncommons. And they're not hard to find. Well, they're also not infinite though either. But yeah. So yeah, just pick like I built this deck here. It's like a Pegasus deck. You can build a theme deck. You can build a good stuff deck. I don't know that I'd recommend you want to go too. You don't want to spread yourself too thin, especially early on. But again, you'll get plenty of like different sources for colors and different set types that you'll have no problem. Like you can build build like a couple different color decks, like build like a single color deck, maybe build a couple mixes. Yeah, maybe build a deck or two for like a couple major formats. Like a historical format is a little more of an eternal format. If you find a bunch of standard cards, you might have to build a little bit of a jank deck to start with. And you can kind of go through and you can edit it. And you can try to add some better cards in or take some worse cards out. And as long as I feel like again, I would say this game is exceptional as an intermediate game. It has very, very, very hard, advanced, like the competitive aspect of this game is very difficult. But that's just in general. That's just true in general. If you were to go to like a professional event, expect the other people in that event to be like crazy good, right? But there's nothing wrong with that. That's just normal, because it's a skill-based thing. Also, your cards have to be pretty good, or you have to know what you're doing, or you have to have a pretty good deck. If you want to join like a high-end tournament or something, expect them to come at you with like the maximum strength. Just have that expectation. But if you're playing most of the casual formats are pretty balanced and are pretty fair. Like this is historic right here. And you also can do one-offs, or you can do matches. And also like most of the currency is based around coins. There's also gems. So usually they have daily events. You cast 20 white or green spells. You get like 500 gold coins, and you get some experience points for the mastery tree. And like right here, right? Just a great example. This one had some tickets. Oh yeah, sometimes they give you a card depending upon the sets that come out. It's just some guy out there probably destroying his tires or something. Now it can be subjective, but yeah, you get experience points, which goes to, they have like a battle pass or like a mat. Oh yeah, hold up. So up on the top, you see I have 4,350 gold coins and 470 blue little gems. And then every day they reset you get like a daily stuff, and I think it saves them up until you get to like 5 of those slots or something. Or you get so many slots and then they kind of sit there. Personally speaking, I would say they're not that hard to complete. There's also the daily wins. So I think there's like 15 different rewards you can get for winning. So you just have to win a single game, and then you get that reward. It's not overly difficult, but and also, by the way, the reward system is for any format. So you playing draft, you cast a green spell from draft, you get your reward. You cast a green spell from historic, you get your reward. I don't think it works against the bots. I think that the daily rewards are disabled against bots as far as I can tell. But they are available for any type of player format as far as I know. I could be wrong. Or maybe you can't get it from Sparky. So maybe there's a bot format out there, but I don't know. But basically you beat a player in the game, you get a win. And then you get that has like it gives you different rewards based upon your wins. Like usually you get like 500 coins to start with. Then it's like you get some experience, you get a small amount more money, and then you get some experience. So and then also again, like what you can do with the coins then is it costs 5,000 coins to join the kind of like the more generic limited format. And then you also can spend gems. Gems are like the premium currency. You can earn gems for playing free to play though, but it's not an easy thing to find. You also can spend coins and gems on like booster packs. They have cosmetics. I mean, whatever tickles your fancy. If you're being like you're like a peasant player, right? You're like somebody who doesn't really spend a lot of money on it. They also do have a $15 and a $5 intro pack. I actually would recommend them. They're pretty good investments. They give you a whole bunch of gold. They give you a whole bunch of gems. They give you basically a very large percentage for your money. Big money, big value for your money. But you only get them once. So if you're like a peasant player, I recommend buying them, and you can save them up. And you can use them on like, joining a draft. So that's what I recommend, is you spend 5,000 gold coins. You can play in a draft. You automatically get your 3 packs. Obviously, you only get what you pick from the draft. And I think you get 1 pack for playing in the draft for winning. And you get more gold coins and more gems. So, and then there's phantom drafts where you don't get to keep any of the cards in a phantom draft. And they have like a lot of events that come up. You don't necessarily get to keep all the cards from an event, but you could just play special decks. They have special decks where you play special decks against specific other people who have special decks. So they have a jump-in event where I think you take a 20 card pack of pre-selected cards from Pacific color sets that do Pacific things, and you take 20 of those cards you take another 20 pack, you fuse them both together, and you make one deck. It's a 40 card deck. And with that format, you play against other people who also build. They select two 20 packs. You get 3 options, and you take them and you pick your first one. And there's a second slot, and you pick the third one out of 3. You just get a preset deck. You can't edit it really or anything. And you play against other people in the same format with both of those decks. And then some of these events, and they have different names. And there's one's called the Jump-In. They also sometimes have a weekly free Jump-In. The ones that you pay I think it's like 1,000 gold to join normally, but the ones that you pay some of the gold, you get to keep your stuff. So that's the advantage of using a Jump-In token. You get to keep all the 40 cards. Occasionally they might have a mythic or some strong rare. They also really help for building up your deck, because you get 4 or 5 of these Jump-In tokens for free. So great ways to just add more cards to your collection. You might they have one of the Jump-In packs has a really good mythic artifact that says your spells can't be countered. It's like 6 mana. Then at the end of your turn, discover 5. That was in one of the Jump-In packets. I'm not saying they all have a mythic, but sometimes they have strong cards. And sometimes they have rares that you can get. So if you have the Jump-In tokens, you can just kind of select whatever deck you want, about the 2 choices. Okay. And there's also the event decks. So and I know I talked about this a little bit. I'll go more into detail. So an event deck, I'm pretty sure you don't get to keep the cards. That's a pre-select. It could be 40. It also could be 60 cards. It's just in general a very strong deck. It could be one color. It could probably 2 colors, 2 to 3 colors. Just pretty strong cards in a pre-built deck, and you join into that event, and then other people, you could just select the deck. They have 8 to 10 event decks. And you can go through the deck, you can look at all the cards, and you can also swap it back to a different deck. And you got to win 3 matches or something. Or a lot of times there's a match 1, you get a card. In match 2, you might get another card. Then match 3, you get you might get some mystery cosmetic, or they might give you gold. They might give you some special reward. Sometimes it can be randomized rewards. It can be semi-randomized. So again, it also is just about. Again, I think this game is about having fun. It's just about having fun at the end of the day. So playing in the event decks, you get to play cool decks, and the advantage of the Jump-In tokens plus the event decks, and maybe there might be another one out there. The advantage, in my opinion, of this is that they are very balanced in a very fair format. If my deck is a pre-built deck out of good cards against another pre-built deck, that format is very fair. Now, some decks are just crazy bonkers compared to other ones, but it's still fair at the end of the day. And the same thing with drafts. Now there is the luck of the draw, or in Holiness, maybe God himself. He determines, what random chance you're gonna get. But we as mortals can never truly know. Oh, by the way, oh shoot. Okay, I'll keep playing. I'll keep it on play. I paused there for a while. Okay, well, it's fine. But draft format is fair. Again, you might get a crazy uber OP power bomb card with a really well-built deck, but it is mostly I would say it's very randomized or very semi-randomized. It's very fair. And a little bit of luck, but you also need a lot of skill. It's a skill-based format, right? Now, this is just playing constructed decks. But I also would argue constructed decks are also fair too. You got to have good cards, but you can build whatever decks you want in whatever format you want. So I would say it's fair at the same time. Some people might have just bonkers good decks, but it is mostly fair. But yeah, like in draft, so from what I know, maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you know this, so there's a couple different draft formats. I think there's a very strict, very like normal, orthodox, traditional draft where you have like 6 players. You can only play against those players in that specific draft format. Like 3 matches. You play like a very normal game. Now, I've never actually done one of those yet. And there's also they have a few different formats. They have like a premier draft. They have we call it like a quick draft. They have like a more traditional draft. They have a few different ones. But for what I can tell, and they also have like the drafts where like the quick drafts. Just some obnoxious motorcycle person, right? Big ego, right? It's fine. Nothing I can do about it. But okay. So in the quick drafts, you have so there's several different options. So one is that you can. What's this? Okay, I scooped here. I made a mistake when I played the Phyrexian Obliterator. Fair and balanced, right? Okay, so yeah, so you can play against. They call it like the quick drafts. You draft against the bots, so you have your draft pool. There's no timer linked to it, and you just pick. You can You can just pick your cards, and other bots open up like, I think they call like imaginary packs or whatever. Obviously, you can select whatever cards you want. Then a bot goes through and just, I don't know, they might just randomly pick a card. They might try, and the bots might also build decks, and maybe they play bot games against. I have no idea. The cards might just go to oblivion otherwise. But. Or maybe they give them. I mean, I don't know what they do. Maybe they give those cards out to other people or something. Maybe those cards are what they give to free players or something. Oh, who's to say? But or they give those out. They give those out for free to other players. I think I meant to say. But you can select whatever cards you want. There's no timer. Then you can build your deck. So the thing about is okay. So they have those ones. You pick cards against other bots. Then you build your deck, and then those bots, I think all those bots that make decks, they pick cards, they just kind of fade to oblivion, and then you're just a player, and you go in. I think you go into some kind of a semi-organized. I mean, I don't really know for sure the exact details. Some kind of an algorithmic system. It might be different elos. It might be people and other. I think they match you up with other people in similar drafts, but they weren't in your technical draft. They were just in a different draft. So you might see a very similar deck multiple times because I think based upon how many wins you have, or they have some kind of a system. If you have 3 wins, they're going to try to match you up with whatever available players there are for different drafts of similar types. You're going to go into a pool of similar people. You have 3 wins, they're probably going to find someone who has 3 wins. Or you have 3 wins and they have 2 wins and they have a bye. Or they got a draw and they got 2 wins. They're going to mix and match them together, right? So you're not necessarily playing with, and you're not playing with, obviously you drafted with bots, so all those bots are just they go to oblivion, so they no longer exist. I mean, I have no idea. But, and the same thing with like all the other draft formats. Except for that one Pacific draft, right? There's that one Pacific type of draft that you play in the same pool with the same people. You have like 6 players or 8 players or how many people they had drafted with. And that's a very like paper-based traditional Friday night Magic draft. But that's its own separate category. Yeah, but otherwise, yeah, you play against other players from different draft pools. So there could be 100 different draft pools. So what you also can do, again, this is positives and negatives, depends on your point of view, right? Some people like the very normal, very strict, very traditional format. However, you can, there is no time, there's like no, obviously there's the in-game time limit of the actual, when you're playing, there's timers, and if you play, again, you play a traditional, like a normal traditional draft, there is like a best of 3. But even that more, okay, so there's also, there's the one Pacific, very orthodox, and then there's like the normal traditional, and there's like the normal quick draft. You have, some of them have timers when you're picking your draft. Then once you're done picking your draft, as long as you're not part of that orthodox group, you have an infinite amount of time to build your deck. You can literally close the application, leave for like a full 24 hours, and just come back. And you can just play in that draft until it's either, the quick draft is either, I think it's like, you win 7 single games, or you lose 3 times, then you're out of the draft. And then the normal traditional is you just play 3 full matches. Just play 3 full. So there's no, and the only reason that you would get kicked out of that draft is because the new season's coming out. So like you have like, they had the Thunder of Junction draft, and they have Bloomborough coming out. So Thunder of Junction draft was coming to an end. Therefore, you would have to finish those matches, or those games, before the next set comes out. They're gonna break the Thunder of Junction. You have to plan for that, but you have as much time as you need. So you play one match. You have stuff to do. You can just come back and play a different match. The advantage of not being in a super, like, I guess, orthodox is kind of a more biblical word, but the advantage of not being in like a very strict format is there's a lot more leniency. So since you're playing in like 100 different draft pool sets, you're just one of them. There's also usually plenty of people to play against. So yeah, so you can just close the game, come back a day later, play like 1 or 2 games. You just close the game back, come back 4 hours from now, play another one. You could just play all your games immediately. Maybe you have stuff to do or something comes up. You can stop halfway through. It's more casual. It's more casual. It's somewhat. It's like I'd say it's like a semi-casual, semi-competitive. I appreciate that. I appreciate that it's an online game. So sometimes people have stuff to do. You get plenty of time. There is timers, so you can also. Again, they have the quick drafts, they have the premier drafts. A premier draft, as far as I can tell, is just more of an expensive draft. So it's like, it gives you 1 pack and like 50 gems for the first win, and it gives you like 1 pack and like 100 gems for the second win. Then it's like, I think, and then win 3, it's like 1,000 gems in a pack, and it costs like, I think like 1,500 gems to enter, or I mean, they're just like just hypothetical numbers. The normal one would be like 600 gems or 800 gems to enter, but you're going to get less of a prize pool. So in the premier drafts, the goal in the premier draft is to try to get about 3. You want to get about 3 wins, 3 of the 7 wins, right? Then you get a bunch of your gems back. And you basically it reduces the cost dramatically. Otherwise, you're kind of out of luck. So, if you think you're good at the game, or that's like you want to be more skilled, kind of put your money where your mouth is. If you get like 7 wins on the premier draft, you can get like 2,500 gems. So you can double your reward. You can play for free, or get a whole bunch of cards or whatever, right? So it's subjective. If you're new to the game, probably just pay the 5,000 coins. Again, you're going to get like somewhere between 500 to 750 gold coins every single day if you do the dailies. So, 5,000 coins, you're probably going to get like, you can probably get like 1,500 coins a day if you're farming up smart or whatever. You also can get some gems. It's not hard to enter the drafts. It's not a huge, it has a very small entry threshold, but it does have a threshold, but it's not that high. Also, people give the recommendation, I probably would also, if I call myself more like a peasant player, you can have a second account. It can get a little bit cheesy, but what you can do with the second account is, here's the thing: all your cards will be bound to your individual account. So if you have your main account, all your cards will be on your main account. Secondary account, only the cards you get on your secondary account will be in your secondary account. They don't, you pull a Mythic Dragon on your main account, that Mythic Dragon will not be in any of your card pool set for your second one. There's the pros and cons to this, right? However, if you pull a really powerful Mythic Rare in your secondary account, it will be in your secondary account, but it won't be in your main account. So, with a random luck, or in holiness, maybe God's will or his favor on your side, you could pull some really cool cards on both accounts. But they're only in that account. But you can do more dailies easier if you're trying to farm dailies. And you get with all your mythic and your rare wild cards, you can build individual decks that are different on both accounts. So you can play some fun constructive decks. You can join more drafts a little bit easier. Also, you get access to all the events twice, with different reward pools twice, with different types of stuff you could do. So it's subjective. If you're a peasant player, I probably would recommend it. Also, they have stuff like phantom drafts, like basically a free draft, but you don't get to keep the cards. Again, if you want to play the game more, you want to have more fun, having a second account could. I'm not saying it is. It could be a good idea. I accidentally found how to have a second account because I had an account originally. I couldn't remember my username or password, so I just built a new one. But then I found my details, so I went and I found my old account. It's not hard. I mean, I figured out my details, so I had my old stuff or whatever. I didn't initially like that idea, but I ended up figuring it out, and it worked out well. So sometimes I might go on my second account. And again, like, you can get like, yeah, I mean, it just gives you twice as many options. So again, you can have like, four solid constructed decks on your main. You also could have 4 different constructed decks on your alt. It could be a good financial situation. So that video's over. I think I'm gonna probably end this here soon. I could just go back to that. I didn't show the first half of this. I was just using that from a different footage for something else. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I don't know what kind of major Christian perspective. I mean, I don't know what I'm gonna put on this. Oh yeah, like right. Okay, so you see up there with my 4,000 coins. To the left of it is that's the pool of my emblem. What do we call it? The wild cards, and then to the left of that is how many jump-in tokens you have. So you use those for special events. Now, I don't know. Mostly a cheap event. You get the 2 50% decks. So you can build a 40 card deck. You get to keep them all. Really great for starting out the game. And again, the pros of having 2 accounts: you get 2 sets of jump-in tokens. You don't always get to keep all the cards in the same account, but you get to play it twice. So as a peasant, you get to play it twice. That's a pretty good deal. And if you're making content creation like on YouTube, then you get twice as much content you can make. But you also have to go through both accounts. it's kind of a stressful pain in the neck, right? Okay. Like, I guess, like, what would I say for, like, a Christian point of view? There are many points of view from, like, the faith, and on this series. Since this goes through, like, they call it the multiverse. You can name your decks, put Christian themes on them. There's 5 colors plus colorless, mix and match. They go through all sorts of different places. Like, they had a Final Fantasy commander. I'm not sure that's actually out yet. They had, like, a Fallout, like, like Fallout 4 or Fallout 3. They had a commander for that. They go all over the place, right? And this game's actually kind of out of control. They had early biblical cards. They had like in Holiness, they had a card called, like, Wrath of God. Talks about, like, bury all creatures, like from Sodom and Gomorrah. They have like the Quran. They had some quotes. They had quotes from the Bible. They had quotes from historical places. They had Leonardo da Vinci, going out to we call it the Middle East, like some of the desert places and stuff. They have so many historical, and they also use lots of mythological and fantasy stuff. And they go out to all sorts of places. They have, like, the gingerbread people or whatever, and they have whatever you can come up with. Magic the Gathering probably went there, and they went a whole bunch of other places. So there is tons of locations, and they have biblical facts. They have it's so much stuff. Obviously, it's more of like a fantasy game. It's a fantasy game, but it's very realistic too. But it's subjective, right? They had, like, My Little Pony. They had Transformers, like robots in disguise. They had they had so much stuff out there I couldn't even tell you. And also, again, lots of Christian stuff, right? And they had, like, the Thunders of Junction has, like, the outlaws and stuff. And they use a lot of sorcery, which is kind of naughty. Some of this stuff is hard to keep track of. And also, here's one other thing. On Arena, they have stuff like, you can, again, obviously a lot of the names are kind of naughty. Like, you can conjure cards to put in your graveyard. You can make cards that go in your hand. Normally in Paper Magic, they don't really have that kind of effects, but they have special cards on Arena only. I know I have a Pegasus. I'm sure you've probably seen it at one point. I think this creature right now I haven't played, called the Archon of Sun's Grace. When this thing, whenever an enchantment, oh yeah, right here, it's triggering right now. It makes a 2/2 token. Or, hold up. See that card in my hand? I think it's called Wing Steed Trainer. Although I could be wrong. I mean, so one of these cards makes a 2/1. I think when it ETBs and when it attacks, it puts a 2/1 Pegasus card for cost 2 mana. Obviously, the word conjure is a naughty word. Puts that card into your hand as an additional card in your hand, like a literal card, right? Also, you can put cards into the graveyard, like a literal card, right? So, yeah, I'm probably got some kind of allergies or something. There's a fungus. There's a green fungus, like 2 mana for a 3/3. I also really like it. When it enters the battlefield, it makes 2 copies of itself and puts itself, like, literal cards into your graveyard. And then when it gets 3 counters, you can remove 3 counters, take one of those out of your graveyard, put it onto the battlefield, and it triggers its effect a second time. It's the same copy. It's a copy of the same card. Yeah, my Pegasus deck is kind of just completely cracked. Well, I've edited it a little bit. Sometimes, as you can see, even this is just one matchup. Sometimes it usually wins really good against, like, normal level decks, but it plays against, like, a completely off the rails deck, and sometimes it just loses. Oh yeah, so yeah, like, that card will enters the battlefield as like the same card, putting 2 more copies into the graveyard. Now you have 3 copies of itself into the graveyard. It counts as a literal card. Normally in paper Magic, you can't do that because you only have the actual card unless you have tokens or you have some special rules or something. I like that. I think it's really cool in the game. It adds a lot of fun. There's a Phyrexian card that's like, I think whenever it attacks or blocks or something, it makes this artifact card. It's like 3 mana artifact in your hand that you pay for 3. All your artifact creatures get +2/+2. You can put multiple cards in your hand of the copy. It counts as a card in your hand. So if you have 7 or more cards, those cards count as cards in your hand. You can discard them from effects. It makes the game a lot of fun, since it's not just like how when they did with drafts, right? They utilize the draft effect. That you have 100 different drafts, and then they kind of mix and match you in different timing, right? Something you normally cannot or really should not do. But it's a lot of fun because it's a video game format, not the paper format. Something that you get as a special little boon, right? Also, the advantages. I think there's advantages and disadvantages. The advantages of this game is it organizes all your stuff for you. You can have 50,000 Magic the Gathering cards all in a small little folder off to the side you never have to see, with just your decks pre-built, right? Otherwise, you have to clean up, you have to find tokens, you have to use dice. The pros of playing Arena over the paper Magic is I would say it's hyper levels of convenience. The disadvantage is it takes away a lot of the personality from the game, or the personalization. You can click on your little icon there, and you can say like one of 5 to 10 different emotes. All right. Oh, hold on. Oh, shoot. I don't know where I was at. Oh, where was I at? Okay. Okay. Well. Wherever I was at, let's see if I can find that again. I was going to talk about it, so I just happened to see it. I don't know where I was at last. Don't know if I can find that again, to be honest. But you can be a little bit sassy. You can kind of talk. You have a little bit of interaction with another player. So you can say something like "hello," and then your opponent can respond to your messages. The screen flips back and forth sometimes, right? You can be like "good game," and you're like, say I have like 10 dudes in play with trample or like 10/10s. I swing at my opponent. They can't do anything. They know they're gonna lose. You can say "good game." They can say "good game." When you start the game, you can say hello. They can say hello, and then they can also say like you can type in on your emote "nice," like exclamation mark, like that card was really good. You've made a really good choice, and they can say like and then the response if you say hello, you say nice to them, they can say thanks. So it's not going to be one for one the same. Also, if you make a mistake, you can say oops, and also you can be like I'm thinking. And there's a bunch of stuff, and then your opponent can respond. So usually, sometimes you can be like a little snarky about it, but like you can be like good game. It kind of pisses someone off sometimes. So this is hyper convenience, right? But as you can see, the disadvantage of those emotes is that's all the social interaction you're going to get with the other player. Again, also all your cards get revealed. So whenever you show a card, you see you see it right there. Perfect timing, right? See on the card called Planar Disruption. There's a little red eye, like a little eyeball or whatever. That shows that the card's revealed. So whenever a card gets revealed, whenever you say you tutored out a basic land, that card is flipped over, so your opponent knows that card's always. They know that card in your hand always. 5 turns from now, that basic land's still in your hand. They still know that card's there. So there's pros and cons. Obviously this is not paper Magic. Now, I would say playing paper Magic is a little bit different, but you're playing it in the physical real world. So you're playing with an actual person, and you don't just type in emotes, don't click on a button and click an emote. You speak to real people. And sometimes people are obnoxious. And if you're being honest with yourself, maybe you're a little obnoxious. Or maybe I'm obnoxious, right? You can speak to other people. Sometimes people are very mad. People rage quit. Who's to say, right? You know, this is no. You are, by the way, most of the time, playing against another actual person. So don't forget that the other person on the other side of the table, they're a human being just like you. In holiness, God's creation. Oh, that's a great example, right? Just obnoxious people. Someone listening to music extremely loud. It's not just that it's like, I don't care that someone listens to music, right? But your music is so loud, now I have to listen to your music when I'm not, in the same place as you. Or people who chew with their mouth open, right? Or snap their chewing gum, or just horrible humans, right? Or just bad tendencies. That stuff is obnoxious, right? Or whatever it might be. You get that stuff in the real world, but you don't get that stuff online. Or like in paper Magic, right? Sometimes you got to use the restroom, or maybe someone smells really bad, or you got timers. Usually, if you're playing in an organized event, I think they change their rules like so frequently. It's like 45 minutes for a match, I think. They have different, like, you go into time. Online, they do have timers in this game. And now, I'm gonna be honest, they're somewhat oppressive, but we call it oppressive, right? Oh, I typed in good game. Like I was gonna concede. Again, it's like just being like a gentleman, right? Or like a lady, depending on who you are. Different pros and cons. It's subjective, but you're not going to get the human experience playing an online game like you would in real life. You sit down, maybe, and also you can have your friends or whatever you might make. You can make real friends. You can make friends in real world. You can play with them every week. Maybe you play against them, or whatever it might be. It's a heck of a lot of fun. And you can bring Arena to the paper Magic and talk about Arena, right? So those are just some pros and cons. And like, it's subjective, but I think they're both fun. And again, another thing is, say I'm playing this Pegasus deck, right? That deck, to be honest, might piss someone off a lot in real world. But you're playing against other people online. People don't care, and what are they gonna do about it if they did? I play some artifact deck. It's just nuts. It's like just completely cracked and off the rails. Super strong, super fast. If I'm playing in a group of people that I know I meet up every week with, they are going to be incredibly irate, and that's completely fair. And sometimes I'm irate. You play like a 7-mana card that says whenever your opponent casts a spell, take the top card of their library, exile it. You can play it for free immediately. That card, I can't remember what that is. Like a blue enchantment, completely cracked, right? People are going to be very, very mad if you're playing Commander, like a normal Commander game, and you're playing a deck like that, it has cards like that. I can't remember the name of that card. I know what that card does. I haven't played against that card in probably like 4 years. I can still remember it. You play Commanders and stuff, they're like completely off the rails. Like a Purphoros, like I think it's like whenever a creature ETBs, it does like 2 damage to each opponent. Just disgusting, right? Just disgusting cards. Paper Magic with real people or people people get really, really, really mad. The advantage of playing on Arena, it doesn't matter if they're mad on Arena or not. They can just quit. If it's a one-shot game, they can just quit, and then they just move on to the next game. And depending on like your ELO rank or whatever, it might be better or worse depending on your situation. You're really, really good at winning, you might have to play harder decks. But it is what it is because it's online. Paper Magic, people are going to be mad. They're not going to play against you anymore. You play disgusting cards. And you might be mad at other people for playing disgusting cards too. It's like a double-edged sword. So there's socialization in paper Magic, and there's like, some online. Some of the advantages of playing, online, for example, they're not going to show up late. We're going to play on, I don't know, like a Thursday, right? Or like a Friday night Magic the Gathering draft. Bad weather's outside. No, it's not going to meet up this week. Your friend, maybe you and your group of people meet up on a Thursday night at like 6 o'clock. And you play like Commander or 60 card casual, or maybe you play in like a modern format, or you could have your friends, you could have like organized in a play store or someone's house, whatever it might be. Your friend decides, I got a headache. I'm just gonna sit at home and play play Skyrim for 4 hours tonight and be antisocial. They just don't respond to your text messages. They don't show up that week. Makes you it's kind of like a bad behavior or whatever, right? Or they're lazy, or there's drama between the groups. People are petty. And sometimes, to be honest, myself or yourself in this situation, you're just as bad as other people. It's just, being human. In holiness, God is perfect, but none of us are. We're all bad in our own ways. None of us are good, we're all bad. You're playing online, on Arena, none of that stuff is going to be there. So, but also you won't get any of the positive or the negative effects. It's just going to be online. People are always going to be here to play. Rain or shine. You can sit at home. You can sit in the toilet. Whatever you want to do, right? Sit in your car. Sit out in your workplace outside for a break. There's always going to be people to play. Big pros of Arena. And big cons of Arena. It's not really as personalized. It's not like it's very disassociated from like actual reality. So paper Magic, you get to meet real people, build friendships, and the truth is, yeah, you are mad at your friends because of bad behavior, or they're mad at you, or maybe you and your friend are mad at some other person, or maybe you love that person. You might be mad with somebody or at somebody, or they might be mad at you, but you're all friends and you love each other. Oh, here's that card, right? It conjures a card into your hand. But you can build bonds and build friends in real life. And you can get out of the house and you don't have to be on your on your computer or whatever. So pros and cons. I love playing the game though. It's mostly a fair game. And if you're just playing casually for fun, it can be enjoyable. But it's subjective. I mean, I think if you view this as a companion kind of app, that you can do some stuff that's fun with it, but don't take away from your real life enjoyment. Oh, is this? All right, I'm gonna end this here in a minute. So yeah, those are just some of my thoughts on Arena, and it is basically paper Magic, but just not quite 100% one for one. And sometimes it's okay that it's not the same. You get stuff like you get special effects, and it organizes all your stuff for you. You don't have to clean up all this stuff. You don't have to bring 100 dice with you. You can get a lot of fun out of it too. And I don't know. I mean, you can think whatever you want. You can just put the game down. And also, what you can do on Arena is when the new set comes out, you can maybe spend some money, drop $20, $40 on a new set on Arena. You play a bunch of drafts, pick a bunch of packs, build a bunch of decks. You play it like per season or whatever you want to spend your money on, or you don't have to spend any money. You can be like a peasant, right? Or you drop like $5-10. You play the pre-release little little draft or something, the sealed, and you play like you play for like a couple days after a big new set or like a big special expansion pack comes out. You upgrade a bunch of your decks. You look at a bunch of cards. And you have a lot of fun. And maybe what you do is you uninstall the game, or you just kind of let it go dark for the next 3 months. The next set comes out. You come back to the game again and you play it. The same thing with like, like World of Warcraft or Elder Scrolls Online or a lot of these types of games. A lot of people are like, you have like a Path to Exile or something, where you play the game per season, and maybe you play for the first week, and you just kind of, or the first 3 days, and you beat the main story, or you get a bunch of new stuff, and you kind of quit the game for a while, and then you're kind of done. Or you can come on and you can grind every day for some of your dailies or something, or whatever you want to do. I think that's great. I think that's something. It's a wonderful thing. It's subjective, but I think that's wonderful. All right. So that's just some thoughts on Arena. Let me know what your thoughts are. So I made this one on my phone. It probably looks and plays a lot smoother. I think I did this with the 1080p. I downloaded the video and I played it. That definitely works a lot better than trying to use the internet. Yeah, let me know what you think. Or maybe you agree with me, or maybe you disagree with me. It's fine. Just be friendly in the comments. Try not to be a dick, right? Yeah, maybe share some of your deck ideas, or maybe obviously like a little bit from the Christian point of view. Let me know what your thoughts as a Christian is, or maybe you, whatever it might be. Just try to be friendly. So, if you're being nasty, I probably just won't respond to you, or I'll laugh at you or whatever, right? So, yeah, let me know your thoughts. Yeah, and then just thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Yeah, God is good.